not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win!
Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
This is the moment the world has been waiting for. The judges are ready, the fighters are ready, the boxing world is ready. The fight starts now!
How do you like it? So aggressive, so focused.
It all comes down to this.
The corner knockdown.
Still the undisputed champion of the world. Press conference, live on DAZN.
Okay, people, here we go again from the wonderful Tottenham Hotspur Stadium here in North London. This, of course, on April 26th, will be the venue that is transformed into the Gladiators Arena. On that centre circle, there's going to be a boxing ring as Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn finally settle their own personal feud, which has been brewing. It's been simmering as they reignite a flame of one of the greatest boxing rivalries we have ever seen. Tuesday was a cracking start to the build-up. It's bubbled up, it's simmered, it's boiled over already.
Oh, tempers flaring there.
Fuming now, Conor Benn.
And it really has erupted down here on the stage.
But we are back here now for part 2 on the press tour. Can it be anywhere near as dramatic as Tuesday was? There's only one way to find out. That's to not go anywhere and watch live right here on DAZN.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th. A legendary rivalry is reborn. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Born rivals. Battle is in their blood, fighting for the name, the honour, the legacy. It's finally time to settle the score. Eubank Jr. versus Benn, April 26th. Available soon at DAZN.com/boxing.
Yes, welcome to the nation's capital, London, for the second and final stop on the fatal fury, Eubank Jr. versus Benn press tour. Now listen, if round 1 in Manchester 48 hours ago is anything to go by, we're in for another evening of fireworks between these two as Conor and Chris trade some verbals on the stage once more. Jamie Ward here from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to bring you all the proceeds from part 2, as I say, of the Eubank Jr. Benn press conference tour. Alongside me, some heavy hitters, Mr. Tony Bellew and Barry Jones. Now, gents, as that handsome bloke told everyone at the start there, it's already simmered, bubbled and boiled over. How did you leave Manchester feeling, Tony, after that?
Tired, to be honest. I was tired because I just thought it was exasperating. It was just chaos. It was just chaos. I just thought, I come away from it thinking, what have I just witnessed?
Was that an egg joke then? That was brilliant, that one. You sneaked that one in. It scrambled me for a little bit.
Exasperated. not exasperated. But no, it was just, I didn't see it coming. You'd always know with Chris Eubank Jr. you're going to get something out of the ordinary, but I just thought, I did think it was a step too far. I mean, the more I've thought about it, the more I thought, why didn't he just plonk it on the top of his head? Why like slap it in the face towards the eye? It's so. It sounds silly, but listen, I can't explain enough. Get eggshell in the eye, mate. You've scratched your eyeball. It's horrible.
Well, let's get your viewpoint on this, Barry Jones, and show it once again, as if you haven't seen it enough.
Well, as a boxing purist and a guy who's been around boxing longer than anyone else here, because I'm an old man, I'm not a fan of it, but I loved it at the same breath. It's like we talked about their dads, didn't we, about how they know what to sell a fight, and these guys know what to sell a fight also. And even though I'm not a fan of that, but it had the desired effect. It got both Benns angry, like they weren't already angry. It got the news and the attention that the fight maybe they think deserves. And the tickets will fly out now. If they weren't going to anyway, that just made... I didn't think they needed to do that to sell the fight, but just to make sure... No, the tickets will go faster than ever before now because of that alone. That'll go everywhere. Whatever was said in that press conference is irrelevant. That's smashing the egg in his face, which I'm sure they get fined for by the British Boxing Board, because it is putting boxing into disrepute. But still, sell a fight is sell a fight, and they're in British boxing right now. They're probably the two best to do that.
We were talking, weren't we, on Tuesday, Tony, about just controlling that aggression, controlling that emotion. Based on everything that did happen, what approach do you expect from Conor Benn at this press conference this evening?
I've had a chat with him upstairs before.
How is he?
He's so calm. He's calm. He's just calm, cool, collected. He takes things in his stride, to be fair. I think he said to me, he's past the commentary, he said to me, Tone, you're the angriest man I know. He said, everyone keeps calling me angry. I said, you know what, mate, I'm quite laid back, to be honest. He said, no, you know, I've seen you, I've been around you quite a bit. And I was like, honest, I'm not. And he was just, for him, he's calm, he's relaxed, he's cool. I don't think Chris Eubank could have done anything else that would have won. I don't think it showed quite clearly words weren't getting to Conor Benn. Even by the lean in and the stuff like that. When he leaned into him, I thought he's trying to get close to poke him, and I think he expected Conor to push him. And I think at the moment he got pushed, I think that's when he was going to slap him with or throw an egg at him. But he didn't push and he didn't respond, so he knew his time was running out and he knew he had to do something. So, if anything, I think it was a panic move by Chris Eubank Jr. But listen, it's all fun and games. It's all part and parcel of boxing madness, the circus.
And also, let's not forget that, and he said it himself, Conor, he said, it didn't affect me, I'm angry anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, my whole demeanour is I'm angry. I'm always up for the fight. Always ready to fight anybody. And even when he's sort of polite, you can see it beneath him, can't you? He's polite until you say something wrong, then he'll want to take you outside and have a fight with you. I think that's his personality. So he just reacted like he would have if it would have been a push. I think, as you said, a push, a snide comment. That reaction would have been the same anyway, I believe. So I mean, but it got us talking. I think that's the important part. Chris Eubank knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Trying to get a psychological advantage. But more than anything, it was about just selling the fight, and that did it. You know, I think that it was a brilliant move, which again, it shouldn't happen, but it did. And you know, Conor will. I don't think Conor will affect him too much, really. He is what he is, and the fact that Nigel got involved as well, it gives us something to talk about. That's the truth. Because otherwise, you're regurgitating the same old stuff about the dads and them too, and the history. But now it's a different history, isn't it? Because they have that makes it more personal than ever before. That's assault, by the way, technically. So you know he's got more than repay his dad's, because his dad hasn't got a win from that rivalry so far. So rather than try and get a win back for the family pride, it's more the personal level now, because he's been hit and hasn't been able to hit back.
Do you know what, Baz? I think it's gone past the dads.
Yeah.
It's no longer about the fathers.
We thought that before.
No, Tuesday. we did, but this is now. It's gone way beyond that. This is more. It's even more than personal. Like I say, you've got to look at it. It's beyond the business and it's beyond anything else that you've seen. Because if these two walk into each other in the street, you know it's happening. So it's that simple, and that very, very, very rarely happens. I don't know a situation of that happening, to be fair.
As a father, Tony, how do you think Eubank Senior would have felt seeing Nigel put his hands on Chris Jr. the way he did on Tuesday?
As a father, it's infuriating, but because he's from the business, he understands it and knows it. Nigel hasn't hit him. If he hits him, that's a different ball game. But he hasn't struck him. He's basically tried to get him as far away from his son as he possibly could. So yeah, it'll still enrage him. It'll still infuriate him, I would imagine. I'm still amazed we haven't actually seen him here.
What do you think we might?
Maybe not today, but eventually.
Oh, well, I think he should. I hope so. But I think what Tony's saying there about Nigel, I think that's controlled aggression for you, because holding someone on the throat is to keep him at bay. to push him back. That's not to hit him. No, the best thing you can do is throw a right hand. No, he's done it.
And he could have, because if you've got him by the throat, you can hit him as well.
And also, the way he come onto me, he has a free shot if he wants to, but he controls his aggression, but still have to make him know, listen, he's not on his own. You've hit him,
you've gone
so
too
that's
far.
enough. Yeah, so I think it all looked great. I thought Nigel just lost his temper. I think he was controlled. Conor looked mad. Listen, I'm not aggressive. I react the same way as Conor if someone does that to me. You would, wouldn't you? I mean, you would if someone talked to you the wrong way. But well, no, that's a fight. If someone hits you, it's fight or flight, isn't it? That's always, and he's been hit, and for that, in that split second, you don't know if it's an egg, a brick, a glass, like Eddie Hearn said the other day. You don't know what. Oh, you've been hit with something, so you react in whatever way possible, whatever you feel at that time. And for him, is to be proactive and aggressive, and it was fascinating to see.
I asked Nigel about it on Tuesday. I said, do you think you'll see your old mate, Chris Eubank Sr. in the build-up? And he said, listen, even though he does my head in, I think he said Sweden, even though he does my Sweden, where are you, Chris? Where are you? I think Nigel would like his old rival to be here.
Make no mistake, but if he doesn't turn up, if Nigel weren't here, I'm sorry to say, but it doesn't make a difference. It's going to add to the big drama, and it's going to add to the big show. But in the grand scheme of things, this fight sold. There's 135,000 people on a waiting list for tickets.
Crazy.
I've never known it.
100. Now that is bigger than any fight in this country ever. It just shows you the public have bought into it. I understand where it's come. It has come from the fathers, 100%. There's a natural aggression towards each other, and they're always been going towards each other from the start of their careers. We never thought it'd actually progress and get here, but it has. But ultimately now, these two boys have took it to another level. They've taken it to another level. They've capped 135,000 people on a waiting list.
Crazy number.
And it shows why this country, I think, is more unique than any other, because outside of the heavyweight division, boxing, especially in the last sort of 20 years, boxing doesn't get any back page press. It just doesn't anymore. But domestic rivalries at the highest level do. And so the heavyweight division, they're always going to get a Fury and a Joshua take the back pages because they're heavyweights. That's good for the sport. But domestic rivalries anywhere weight below that never make the back pages unless there's a real rivalry with spite. So you get it very often. Groves and obviously Carl Froch, him and David Hay. But they're few and far between. But there's a history there. Nigel and Chris Senior, of course, them two. So and there's others of it as well. If you go past in history, it always dilutes down to domestic rivalries at the highest level when they're world class. Will get the back page press. But nowadays, it means you have to do more than just fight each other and be good fighters. You have to be something different, and something like that got the back page press. Not because they're fighting. Even if they sold out the arena, it still doesn't get back. As crazy as it sounds, you still might get 130,000 people watching the fight, but it doesn't get the press it deserves. But because of that, it does. And once you go outside of the boxing world, once you go outside sports, and you transcend into just general news, which it has already, then that's it. It's a mega fight.
It's got crossover appeal. That's what Barry's saying. It's got crossover appeal.
Why say it in 2 words when you can say it in 50, like I did?
No, but
it cuts through the generations.
Needs it crosses over, and the grandmothers are watching.
My nan's 90. She's asking me about this fight.
People are watching EastEnders, and it's on the news after it.
Yeah.
And this is what generates big views. This is what generates interest in our sport, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. More people are going to watch this sport because of what happened the other day.
And aside from everything that happens outside the ring in the build-up, obviously we love that, it is show business, but ultimately all that matters is what happens down there in front of us in the middle of the pitch on April 26th. What are the big questions in terms of this as a match-up, as a fight? Let's just take it back to the actual fight itself between these two. What are the big questions?
What are the big questions? The big questions are is Chris Eubank Jr. too big? That's the biggest question for what's on everyone's lips. When you look at them together, it doesn't look like a mismatch. I've seen fighters do it in the same weight. Like, I look Hamza Sheeraz in some fights, and it looks like boy v man, and it looks like the 2-3 different weights apart because he's so big. It doesn't look like that with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. I'm not going to lie, but that might play a different factor physically in this. Well, it will play a factor in the second half of the fight. And I spoke to Nigel before, and I spoke to Conor, and they don't see it being a problem at all. They're quite simply looking at it as. And I heard them Shalom say, so he's the better boxer. Well, I actually rated Chris Eubank Jr. in the start as a really good fighter. I thought he could really fight. He could fight like anything and just get stuck right in. When he linked up with Roy Jones Jr., in my opinion, is the greatest fighter ever, by the way, in his prime. I think he's tried to change the style slowly but surely, and if I'm being brutally honest, it hasn't really worked. He's not a very good boxer. He's actually a really good fighter when he gets stuck in and lets his hands go. He's got fast hands. He's sharp. He's powerful, but I don't think he's the best boxer. I think Conor Benn is actually better inside fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. And I think that's where the fight's going to be played out. I think that's where Chris Eubank Jr. will come undone, because he's detached himself so far away from actually what he was when he started off to trying to be something that he's not now, and that's what I think the problem's going to be for him.
What about yourself, Barry?
Yeah, I sort of agree and disagree in the same thing. I do think that size is a factor, but also experience. He's boxed at a higher level. Wins and defeats, but mainly defeats, but he hasn't disgraced himself. I think so, but it is a lot to do with how long has he got left. He's not, I mean, they've both been relatively inactive, I would say that, since the first fight was mooted to happen, and neither one have looked fantastic in their last performances. So that's why I think it's a closer fight now than it was when it was first announced a couple of years ago. But I still think that everything points in the favour of Eubank, because his jab's fast, he punches long, he's longer reach, longer distance, he boxes at a higher level, so he knows how to cope with managing a fight better than Conor does. He's been in with bigger guys and cope with the pressure with them, though there might be some vulnerabilities on his chin, which obviously was his main asset, because he inherited his dad's chin, not the power and the resilience. But also, he was a volume puncher. When he first turned pro, and I did most of his early career, he threw so many punches, and he threw them long, which is a key for this fight, by the way, to not allow Conor being close. But he threw too many, and I think it harmed his power. And I used to say, if he just takes half of those punches out, he's knocking people out. Then he got Roy Jones in his corner, who slowed him down, and then I criticised him for not throwing enough. I mean, you got to get that blend in the middle. He was too thoughtful and just throwing single shots, and then that great engine he had was no longer...
Do you think he's lost in transition, Barry?
Yeah, he's no longer in play. That output he had, where he would just thrust the guys and smother you with work rate, wasn't a factor, and fights were harder for him to look impressive. And because he hasn't got that raw power that his dad had, he can't just knock you out with one punch. It has to be an accumulation of shots. And I think that's why, if he does that against Conor Benn, punches long, accumulation of shots, then Conor might walk onto a punch, and you tend to think then size comes into play. But by the way, struggling to make weight harms you down the stretch. So we all think Conor's got to go for it early, but if he can just make Eubank Jr. work hard in those early rounds, really hard, then maybe it can be Conor's fight in the second half.
Can we address this though? Where's this thing coming from that he's struggling to make weight? Chris Eubank Jr. Where's this come from? I remember not so long ago him saying anyone can get it from 158 to 154 to 168. Now he's struggling to make 160.
The age conversations, obviously he's been up at 168 now, coming back down.
But he was too small for 168, I would say that. But with age, you thicken out a little bit, and so it gets harder to make weight. We all know that. But I mean, he hasn't looked great at middle. He hasn't looked great. The last few fights at middleweight, going back to Liam Williams, I would say, he's looked like he struggled to make the weight.
The best win of his career is at middleweight.
Yeah, they most certainly they are. But I mean, at this age now, I think it has looked like that. Maybe the output that I talk about, I do sort of put that down to Roy Jones's ability, his style, the way he wanted to jump into shots. But also, it could be down to he doesn't feel like he has it in the tank. Because the longer you go on making weight, the harder it becomes for you.
What about Conor Benn?
That better than anybody.
What about Conor Benn in the sense that the 147 Conor Benn we've seen in comparison to the Conor Benn at 160 in the last two fights with Orozco and Peter Dobson as well last year?
Once again, for me, the weight, I just don't see a big factor or a big thing with the weight either way. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. should be struggling with the weight. For Conor Benn, he'll be sparring middleweights consistently all the time, and he has been for most of his career.
There's a worry.
He walks around the 12 stone like they say, don't he? Yeah. I know he say that. I know it's one thing walking around that fast, but I spoke to him and I said, what's your best sparring weight? And they're happy. So yeah, I just don't see the big issue or big problem.
I would just say sometimes it's the sharpness. Like you almost got if it's not hard to make the weight, you're in the wrong weight. That's always been the case. Yes. Making weight's got to be hard, but too hard, too dangerous. So, but at welterweight, he was explosive because he was tight at the weight. So everything was just a little bit more sharper with him. And then maybe a junior middle, which he hasn't looked great at. He hasn't, to be honest, those fights. Then maybe that just takes a little bit of that sharpness off him, and that's a worry, because he needs that. Because when he's explosive, Conor Benn, he's looked fantastic. He's under miles an hour, he throws punches. What he does, like his dad did, he commits. Every punch he throws, that's the punch that's going to finish you. And if that doesn't work, the exactly the same punches come with the other hand, and we'll just keep going and going until I haven't got anything left. His dad boxed like that. His dad's the most reactive fighter, arguably, that Britain's ever produced. I mean, he was at his best when he was at his most vulnerable. He was at his best when he was the most tired. You got him in the corner, that's when you saw the best of Nigel Benn. I think Conor haven't been in the wars to prove that, but I think he's from the same ilk.
We've seen it a couple of times in his earlier fights, haven't we, where he's been dropped in it and he's pulled it out the bag.
But he hasn't been in a war of attrition yet, and maybe he never will be. But I mean, so all these questions we have, that's why you have to make Eubank a favourite, because he's answered those questions. Even in defeat, he hasn't been battered and beat up. Liam Smith, of course. But I mean, Conor hasn't had those wars yet. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but we haven't seen it. So you're only going on what you've seen. So at that point, you have to say a lot of things.
He's had hard fights at a lower level. I remember earlier in his career, there was a fighter he had the rematch when he got Payno. And I remember watching that fight and thinking, I know it wasn't a good performance, and I know like the levels were so low, but I remember speaking to him after and saying to him, do you know what, kid? You've showed something there that can't be taught, and it's heart and balls. Can't teach that. For a while, he was the most. I remember he had a problem with me about it, and we had to talk it out. I mean, I know, I'm scared of you. But I called him the most improved fighter in the country, and he took umbrage to that.
I remember that.
But he said, you were trying to make out I wasn't very good, and I said, mate, you weren't very good.
I agree with you,
but that was a plus, because you improved dramatically.
Massively.
And let's not bear in mind. Let's bear in mind that these two guys have had to learn on. No, I know. Eubank Jr. had a bit of an amateur career, but still, really, they've learned on the job in the limelight. I mean, I wouldn't want that for anybody. I mean, it's
hard enough on its own.
It is, isn't it? It's hard for us. We
can talk about this main event all day. We're nearly ready to go. Just quickly, let's give you a little reminder of what else is coming your way. April 26th. So much to talk about as far as that main event is concerned. So here's a little reminder of what else is coming your way. Liam Smith in a good fight with Aaron McKenna as well, gents. We've got our own North London derby for the British Cruiserweight title, by the way. Biddell Riley is a huge Tottenham supporter, and Chev Clark's a massive Arsenal fan. So that one as well. That's a terrific fight. Chris Billham-Smith back in action against Brandon Gladden, and of course the trilogy, Lyndon Arthur and Andy Yard. What is your pick?
I like the Liam Smith McKenna fight.
Yeah, for me it's Clark and Riley, I think, because Clark's coming off a loss, of course, but still a good fighter, and stylistically Riley's going to be lots of problems for him, but it's a big step for Riley. Riley's he beat Lowell recently, which is a good win for him. But Clark's a clever pressure fighter, so I think that's the fight that's going to ignite the best, I think. But I do agree with you, Liam Smith versus McKenna, but they're banking on Liam Smith being shot.
Exactly like he was with Callum.
Yeah.
And they got the fight of their life, and I think you're going to get the fight of your life with Liam.
Okay, here we go then. Part 1 on Tuesday was fun. How will Part 2 compare? Before we hear from the fighters, let's hear from the greatest, Mr. Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to one of the greatest venues for sports and entertainment in the world, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium here in London, England, where on the 26th of April, Saturday night, two fighters with bad blood between them, as we all know, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. will face each other in a 12-round middleweight contest, the main event for a spectacular night of world-class professional boxing for your entertainment. And that will be the inaugural Ring Magazine promotional event. Now, their fathers fought each other 2 times, once for the middleweight world championship, and then again in a 3-way split for the super middleweight championship of the world, and the family rivalry continues to this day. And it's all brought to you by Ring Magazine, along with SNK Corporation, famous for the legendary video fighting game Fatal Fury City of Wolves, with promoters Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing and Ben Shalom for Boxer. Now, this event will be broadcast live worldwide on DAZN and also available in the United Kingdom and Ireland on Sky Sports box office. Now, seated behind me, ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn, CEO and founder of Boxer, Ben Shalom, the trainer of Conor Benn, Tony Sims, Head trainer for Chris Eubank Jr., former heavyweight contender Jonathan Banks, and trainer of both Chris Jr. and Sr., Ronnie Davis. And also seated, ladies and gentlemen, the former middleweight and super middleweight champion of the world, the Dark Destroyer, Nigel Benn. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring the fighters to the stage and to their seats for this press conference. First, former WBA Continental Welterweight champion with a perfect professional record consisting of 23 fights, 23 victories, 14 wins by knockout. He is the undefeated Conor the Destroyer Benn. And his opponent now coming to the stage and to his seat at the press conference. His record stands at 34 victories, 25 wins by knockout, 3 defeats. He's the former two-time IBO Super Middleweight World Champion and the current IBO World Middleweight Champion, and he is Chris New Generation Eubank Jr. Almost like being at Heathrow, isn't it, when you get checked like that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn it over to our host, who will be acting as referee for this press conference, Mr. Ode Oladipo.
Michael, thank you. I'm not sure if those scanners work for eggs, but fingers crossed we have no eggs today. I am happy that we are here. I didn't expect us to get here after the ending of the second press conference, but it is good that we are in the capital because this is something very, very special coming your way April 26th. Welcome everyone to the second press conference for the Ring Magazine inaugural event, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, which will take place at this magnificent stadium, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which isn't just a football stadium. This is one of the best event stadiums in the world. The biggest events here happen every single year. We've had boxing here before. Derek Chisora on the front row fought Tyson Fury here. Anthony Joshua fought Alexander Usyk. The NFL have been here as well, and the best from the music industry. Beyonce will be here in the summer, as will Kendrick Lamar, but the attention turns to boxing once again. We all know about the Benn and Eubank rivalry. It dates back to 1990, as Michael said, when Nigel Benn first locked horns with Chris Eubank Sr. The victor that day was Chris Eubank. He went on to win the WBO middleweight crown. 3 years later, they got it on again, this time a unification fight, this time in the super middleweight division, and it was a draw. We all hoped for a third one. That didn't happen. The baton has now been passed to the Sons. Finally, we get to see Benn versus Eubank again. Here we are, 32 years after their second fight. The unbeaten Conor Benn, with a record of 23-0, 14 knockouts, will move up in weight to take on the current IBO middleweight champion, Chris Eubank Jr., with a record of 34-3 with 25 knockouts. A fantastic undercard as well. Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. Anthony Yard will take on Lyndon Arthur again. Chris Billam-Smith versus Brandon Glanton. And my favourite fight on the undercard, Vidal Riley will take on Chev Clark, another Matchroom versus Boxer showdown. The event is being brought to you by Ring Magazine, SNK Corporation, the publisher of the famous video fighting game Fatal Fury, City of Wolves, Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing, and Ben Shalom of Boxer. And the event will be broadcast on DAZN worldwide and Sky Sports box office in the UK and Ireland. When this fight was officially announced about 6 weeks ago, I remember Eddie telling me this will be bigger than when it was supposed to happen in the autumn of 2022. I completely disagreed. I didn't know if it could be bigger. Then the O2 pre-sale record was done. This time round, I think you probably all saw Eddie's tweet, the pre-sale record has been broken again. And this will be not just the biggest fight in the UK this year, undoubtedly that's fact. It'll probably be one of the biggest fights we've ever seen in the UK. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. All right, there are many people on stage. I want to run through this very, very quickly. I just want to quickly say hello to Jonathan Banks down there, Ronnie Davis, Ronnie, see, there you go, Ben Shalom, Chris Eubank Jr., Eddie Hearn, Nigel Benn, Conor Benn, and Tony Sims. Great to have you here as well, Tony. I want to start with you, Ben. This time we didn't really get to hear from you much last time. Again, an incredible event. You wasn't part of what should have been their first fight. How does it feel to be a part of this one?
Oh, it's incredible. I knew it was big when we got the deal done, but yesterday was special. I want to thank all the media as well as the fighters. The media reception and pickup of this, every front page, every back page of every newspaper, it just feels big. It feels bigger than boxing. It feels bigger than sport. This is going to be the biggest event of the year. And it's Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. The first one felt like born rivals. This one, it's not to do with the dads anymore. This is about 2.5 years of rivalry, 2.5 years of controversy. And now we're here for one of the biggest events in boxing, the biggest event in British boxing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I echo that as well, San. Not just in British boxing, I think one of the biggest events in boxing this year. Let me bring in Chris Eubank Jr., the champion. It's right that I speak to you first. They all say it's all fair in love and war, but did you cross the line at the end of the press conference on Tuesday with the eggs and the slap in the face?
Did I cross the line? I mean, you know, during this whole process over the last 2.5 years, I think many lines have been crossed. You know, I'm sitting up here today on a stage with two of the scummiest characters in boxing, in my opinion. A drug cheat and a man who did everything in his power to help him get away with it. So me throwing an egg at somebody who absurdly claims that that is the reason why he failed 2 drugs tests because of contaminated eggs, I think that's light, and I think that's deserved. He deserved the embarrassment of what happened. You know, if I had an opportunity to do it again, I would. Unfortunately, I come unarmed today. I've been thoroughly searched multiple times, couldn't sneak any in. But in all seriousness, this is a real fight. You know, this is going to be a bloodbath. This is going to be like the first fight between my father and Nigel Benn. It's going to be special.
Does that mean, following up from that last part, does that mean that more respect from you is now given to Conor Benn, considering that you thought this would be a bit easier, easy work, you famously said a couple of years ago?
You know, I've always respected every fighter I fought, bar one. You know, respect for me is reserved for fighters who are true, who don't cheat. If you cheat, I don't care how many fights you've had, how brave you are, how well you've done, I don't respect you. So no, there is no respect in this fight.
Eddie Hearn, let me bring you in. You've been here before, this stadium. You've packed it out, AJ versus Alexander Usyk. Does this one just feel a bit more different because of the spice between the two people?
Yeah, I think different and very personal. You know, you saw what happened.
Eddie, come on, Eddie.
Listen, you ain't sitting there dressed like that.
Come on, Eddie.
What I'll tell you is this.
What do you think
this is
has
the
changed?
First,
what
this
do
is
you
the
think
first
has changed
time
in the last 48 hours?
This is, what's changed? The first time I've heard you talk about the fight.
Nothing has changed.
What has changed is
I do not
we had
want to
130,000 people
There's
in a
no
queue.
speech. There's no speech you're going to make.
There's been a lot of speech. I'll ask you this. Do you want to win this fight? Because I don't, like, what desire have you got in boxing now? Honestly. What is this fight all about for you?
This fight is everything. This fight is, it's career defining. It's groundbreaking. It means more to me than the money involved.
That's what I want to hear. Because I don't believe it, and I didn't believe it.
Okay, well, that's good.
Does it really?
What you believe is extremely irrelevant to me, my friend.
It's not, because I don't know if you want it anymore.
It doesn't matter what you do or don't know. Who are you? I'm here to speak to Conor.
Are you? Speak to him, or?
Speak to him, taunt him, find out what's in his mind. Again, you said something absurd in the last press conference. You said this isn't the Chris Eubank Jr. show. Whose show is it? Is it yours?
No, I mean, partly.
No.
But I would say...
This show has nothing to do with you.
Chris, you fought for the IBO World title in a leisure centre. Shut up, man.
Okay, there you go.
Like, seriously, like, you're an idiot.
This is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear...
You're an idiot. You fought for the IBO World title in a leisure centre. That's like your greatest accomplishment.
But listen, I like what you said about Ben Eubank.
I've won the IBO 3 times.
And do you know what? I got offered it, and do you know what? I turned it down. It ain't a legitimate world title.
Okay.
It's hard, it may be hard for you to hear. You're an idiot.
Listen, I'll just reverse it. I love the fact you said Ben Eubank won. Fantastic. I hope you want to win this fight badly. What I will say is, the other day I feel like it was a bit of a blessing in disguise. Because
you're speaking for too long, Hearn.
No.
I don't want to.
You keep your mouth.
I don't know how many times I'm going to say it.
Well,
you're not going to get your speech
because in our conversation,
it doesn't matter any way you weasel your way in. I am not listening to your bullshit.
You don't have to listen.
I know I don't
have to sit
listen.
there.
No.
Yes, you do.
I'm not sitting here.
Yeah, you do. Anyway, to the media, a very important question.
You can keep trying to talk over me, but guess what?
Robert Smith.
It will not work.
This applies to you. This is important to you.
Ade.
This is important.
Control it.
I feel like we're here again with you.
Because I'll be here all day.
I will say, when I spoke to Robert Smith the other day, just so the media
I know how
could
badly he
hear
wants
me,
to make this press conference about himself.
Conor Benn,
which is why he's seated
will fight under a British boxing border control license.
Conor should be sitting where he is.
And we have carried that process
But I can talk over his bullshit for as long as you guys want. I am enjoying this. Trust me.
So am I. It doesn't matter.
I can be here all day.
Because you're going to get sparked out on April 26th.
You will not win this. That's good.
Because you don't care anymore.
That's good.
You don't care anymore.
That's good.
Good.
Eddie, let's hear from Conor Benn. Conor?
Let's hear from Conor.
Here we go, Conor. This is what you've been waiting for 2.5 years. Reaction to what happened on Tuesday. A lot of people haven't heard from you from what happened on Tuesday. I saw the rage in your face. Here you are now, just a few feet away from the man that did it. What's your thoughts?
Oh, the same. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. That's all there is to say to it, and I can't wait for him to get absolutely smashed to pieces April 26th. His own team don't even like him. Look at his team. Watch the press conference. His own team don't even like him. They're pretending. They're pretending.
Ben, you pretending, Ben?
Of course he is. He ain't even getting paid.
Conor, who's at the end there?
Shut up.
Who's at the end?
Listen, don't open your mouth, so I'll come over there and slap you, silly bollocks.
To you.
Sorry, Mum.
Who's at the end?
I thought it was Keith Connolly today. No?
Sorry,
I can't see. I can't see.
That's Nigel Benn. Yeah. One of the best middleweights and middleweights the country's ever produced.
Sorry,
Eddie, very quickly, sorry to pause it very quickly.
To talk, but
the Ring magazine.
No, you are not allowed to talk
best.
for the 4th time tonight.
Very quickly, guys. Let's have some parliamentary procedure, please.
Absolutely. Some parliamentary procedure.
Parliamentary procedure.
Parliamentary procedure. Eddie, the Ring magazine, I've been told, have a special gift for you.
From His Excellency, yes.
Is it from His Excellency? Someone's going to bring it up.
Today, where is it?
What is the gift?
Very nice egg.
In a Tottenham Hotspur bag as well.
Thank you, Douglas. How are you, sir? Thank you very much.
Is an egg?
I walked into His Excellency's today and he said this is going to be presented to you at the press conference. It's an egg.
If you guys want to hear something really funny, I don't know what this shit is, but, you know, this worm actually tried to put in my fight contract that I couldn't say anything negative about promoters.
Absolute rubbish.
During the press.
Absolute rubbish.
You believe that?
You don't get sued by me. You're being sued by other promoters.
This guy has built his whole career around talking shit about people, and then he's going to try
You got that well wrong.
So that I can't say anything.
Speak to your man on the right about that.
That's who we're dealing with.
That's another thing you got wrong.
That's who we're dealing with.
As well as getting dressed today.
One of the big things, by the way, that's a present from the Ring magazine.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you.
One of the big things that came out of the first press conference was that there's a rematch clause put in this. I believe, Ben, you put this rematch clause in.
Can we please not go over this again?
Well, a lot of people didn't come on Tuesday. A lot of people, Chris, didn't come on Tuesday. They want to know
you guys going back
why a rematch clause was put in, Ben. Why was a rematch clause put in?
There is a rematch clause, and that's it. Let's talk about something exciting. In fact, I have something that's been bothering me for years now, and I'm gonna get it off my chest. The first fight, 20,000 people bought tickets, hotel rooms, plane tickets, accommodation. They planned the whole weekend around this fight. None of them were compensated by Eddie, Matchroom, Conor. Worse than that was the undercard. There were a number of fighters who went through entire camps, and camps are not cheap. You know, thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds are spent on trainers, gym fees, nutritionists, physiotherapists. These fighters all paid for their camps. They lost all that money, and they were never compensated. And that's always bothered me. Obviously, I wasn't compensated for what I spent either, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to set that wrong right now and say that from my purse for this fight, I will be giving £50,000 to the fighters on that undercard to split between them.
I thought he was going to say each.
To cover some of the losses that they incurred. I don't need applause. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not doing this for awards. One thing I will say is that I hope Eddie and Conor both put up their own £50,000 because there were a lot of fighters.
Well, what we did was everybody fought instantly. So, but thank you. That's a lovely gesture. I'll let everyone know and just let us know where to invoice the 50 grand. That'd be beautiful.
You obviously won't be receiving any of it.
No, I don't need to.
The fighters on the undercard.
But I do think it's a lovely touch. Everybody fought immediately and they all, you know, got active. But I think that's a lovely touch. I'll go back over the card. I'll find out who was on. And I will get that.
You don't have to do any of it.
That's lovely. You won't, because you talk bollocks.
No,
you won't actually do it, because you're a bit... You won't.
I'm the one person in this room that does speak the truth.
Oh, leave off.
I'm the one person in this room that isn't worried about the repercussions.
Listen.
All your other fighters, you know, we can't say anything to Eddie, we can't say anything about Eddie because he controls the money. I don't give a shit.
Nor do I.
Well, that's good.
But that's a lovely gesture.
I know it's a lovely gesture.
Very nice.
Keeping on the subject of purses and money, many of you would have heard that Eddie boasting about this 60-40 split that he secured for his team and Conor and himself. Just an absolute lie, you know, which is not surprising.
Well, I thought it was 70-30, but Ben said 60-40.
You said 60-40. The truth of it is, Uncle Turkey flew in and saved the day like the superhero that he is. This is Saudi's show. He called me. He said, "What do you want to make this fight?" "I want it. Tell me what you want." So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I got to be a businessman here now. And any good businessman in any negotiation, they start with an aggressively high number, and then there's counter offers.
Wow, what genius!
And
unbelievable.
There's counter offers and compromises, and eventually get down to the number that's agreed. So I gave him a diabolical number. You know, I gave him an inconceivable number, and he said, "Done. I'll send you the contract on Monday." And I'm thinking, fuck, I could have got more there. Could have got a little Lambo or
what you like,
or a couple of watches added in. But you know what? I was happy with the deal. I'm not greedy.
You're not greedy, no.
No, not at all.
Anyway,
the point of the story
cool
is
story, but,
there is no splits, there's no percentages. He didn't negotiate an
I was
amazing
only pulling
deal.
your plonker. Why are you getting
Oh yeah, now it was just a joke, but before it was serious.
What we did, we got the number we were happy with. and we got the number that we think provided value for His Excellency.
That's right.
The difference
there was no 60-40 split.
The difference between
so
you and
lied
Conor
to the public in front of everybody, and now I'm setting it straight.
He wants to beat you. Forget the money. This is not about the money for Conor Benn. This is only about the money for you.
No, it's not.
It is.
And again, why are you speaking to me?
Because you're speaking to me.
I'm speaking about you. I'm not speaking to you.
Now. You're so. Listen.
I don't want you
I'm in your head rent free. All you do is talk about me.
I don't want to hear you anymore. If you lie to the public, I'm going to expose you.
I'm worried.
I am not one of your little puppets. If you say bullshit, I'm going to call it out.
Then if I'm doing that,
you lied about the 60-40 split.
You're going to get.
I'm setting it straight.
I think it was better than a 60-40 split.
No. Listen, you did a terrible job for your guy. We got everything we wanted.
You happy?
But the point is, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, he owns the show, Saudi owns the show, they're getting the pay-per-view, the tickets, all of that stuff, and he's guaranteeing me and Conor our purses.
And
there's no split.
Much. And it's going to be the biggest fight in British boxing history.
Absolutely.
All down to you.
Yeah, well done. Well done, Derek Clappin.
Oh, thank Derek.
Thank you. Let's hear from someone that wasn't at the press conference on Tuesday. That's the trainer of Conor Benn, Tony Sims. Tony, you're the man that's got to get Conor ready to have the toughest fight of his career, get Conor ready to jump up a couple of weight classes. How confident are you that you can get the job done come April 26?
Yeah, it's actually nice to talk about boxing and the fight. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, and we started camp a couple of weeks ago out in Mallorca, and obviously we've come back for the press conference. But as you know, Conor's last couple of fights have been at 154. So the 160 ain't too big a jump for him. And he'll be in great condition on the night. And we've obviously got our game plan, and Chris has got his game plan. And as Eddie was saying, it's probably the biggest fight in British boxing. We all know the dads had two great fights. I was actually at the second fight at Old Trafford. I was friends, obviously, in them days with Nigel. I remember the build-up to that fight, the atmosphere that brought, and I believe 30 years on, the atmosphere and we're all looking forward to such a great night, and I think it's going to be an absolute fantastic fight. Conor's going to bring that ferociousness to the fight. You know, he's a carbon copy of his dad. Chris has obviously got the experience and a bit of weight on him, and he's a carbon copy of his dad as well. So I think we're all in for a great night of boxing.
Let's stay on that side. Let's welcome in Nigel Benn. Nigel, obviously, look, you're fully confident your son can get the job done, but you know more than anyone.
100%. I don't see it going past 4 rounds. And where, like, you know, they say, like, Conor's jumping up 2 weights. Conor walks around at 12 stone. I know my son. And if Liam Smith gave him the problem that he did in the first fight, that's Liam Smith. He don't punch like Conor. He does not punch like Conor. And I know Conor can do 12 rounds. Me, personally, like I said yesterday or Tuesday, I said I'm more confident in this fight than I had with me and Chris Senior. I just think that Conor's just going to go out there, mate, and just give it to him, put it on him. And I know he would do that. I'm 100% confident in Conor doing that. I'm so relaxed, so sure. I know what my son can do. He's actually the best, a much better fighter than me. I could never box like Conor. I was just going in and have a bang. I just want to have a war. But Conor's got all them in his locker, mate. Every single thing. I'm so confident. I don't see it going past 4 rounds. And it's not even 4 rounds. It's like when Conor catches him. So it could be round 1, round 2. I don't see it going past 4 rounds. And that's my opinion. And that's what I believe. I know what my son can do. And he fights bigger guys inspiring than him. That are hard. I just know my boy, and I'm so confident.
Conor, your whole team's confident.
Nigel, just before we move on, I got to just say something.
Yeah.
You know, I understand the frustration and the heat that you were experiencing a couple of days ago after I egged Conor.
Yeah. I didn't know. I thought you actually glassed him, mate.
I understand.
And that's why I nearly got my hand around your throat.
I understand.
Yeah.
But you did put your hand on my neck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a pass because of what happened, but I'm just letting you know if your hand ever touches me again, you won't get it back.
Shut your fucking mouth. Do you hear me?
No.
Con. Do you hear me? Threaten my dad.
He couldn't. Connor,
silly bollocks. Threaten my dad again. Watch what happens to you.
Yeah.
I'm not threatening him. I'm just letting him know.
No. Do you hear what I said? Do you hear what I said?
There's no touch.
Do you hear what I said? Well, he did get his arms around your neck.
Con, leave it. I got it, mate. I can handle this, mate. I'm old school, mate. I had this with his dad. I'm old school, mate. So this is not a problem. I understand, and I apologise for doing that, mate. I really am sorry that I've done that. You know what I mean? You put your hand on my son.
Yeah, because we are fighting.
Dad, he's just upset because his dad don't like him.
What?
No, he's just upset because his dad don't like him.
Yeah, I know.
He can't be. Shut your mouth.
Nobody else.
Shut your mouth. Your dad don't like you. You understand? No. You're just jealous. Just admit it.
I'm here.
Just admit it. That's it.
I'm ready to go.
That's it. Look at your team. Dysfunctional.
Yeah, Con, you know what it is. I think at the end of the day, like I said, it's like he's poked the bear. I just know what's going to happen. Listen to me. I'm telling you, this does not go past 4 rounds.
Okay, we got it.
I'm telling you, no, you're going to be done. For sure, 100% sure. So confident in what my son can do.
Conor, your team's obviously full of confidence. You're the man, though, that's going in the ring, jumping up a couple of weight classes.
Oh, they ain't really got anything to say. This whole thing is just getting on my nerves, to be honest. I ain't got nothing to say. There's no question you can ask me. Eubank, I can't wait to smash your head in April 26th. I can't wait to smash your head in. Listen, I've heard enough of your voice talking shit this whole time. Again on Tuesday. Just shut your mouth. April 26th, you're getting your head smashed in.
I can't wait, my friend. I can't wait.
All right, let's get a couple of final words from Ben Shalom. Ben, here we are. It's the big one. Again, we didn't even need to do this press conference. I feel like the event's sold already. The tickets tell us it's sold already. But again, we are so close to something so special.
Yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, 130,000 people in the waiting room. I've never seen it on a pre-sale. The biggest event this year. I do have to question when Eddie says they didn't do it for money. They had an opportunity to fight for a world title. It's clearly for money. It's clearly a cash out. It's clearly 2 fights. Probably the last 2 fights of Conor's career. But this will be the biggest fight we've seen in the past 2 decades, whether people like it or not, in British boxing. And that's what it's about. And as I say, I have to thank the media. I have to thank everyone that got behind this event, because this is special. And on April 26th, we're going to see something that we've not seen before.
Eddie, I can always tell from the media turnout just how big an event this is. You've been involved in some enormous events. This must be right up there with some of the biggest you've done.
I'd like them to do it now.
Eddie. Come on, Eddie.
I'll tell you what.
Well, you know what's going to happen.
Go on, you try, go on.
Just don't say anything.
Okay.
Just ignore,
I'll say this.
Ignore Ade.
I wish you could do it now.
Okay.
Now.
Good.
Out there.
That's
now.
enough. That's enough.
I'm going to enjoy every minute.
Let's not get excited.
I'm too excited. Too excited. It's going to be sweet as a nut. Thank you.
I feel rude if I don't ask Ronnie Davis a couple of words. Ronnie is sat on the top table. You've experienced this type of animosity with their fathers, exactly the same. What does it feel like when the sons are showing this type of attitude as well?
It's no different to me. First of all, I was privileged to be in the first fight they had, which was electric. I'd never thought I'd be privileged enough to do it again with their sons. It's unbelievable. It's going to be a great fight. May the best man win, which I know will be Eubank. No disrespect, Tony Simmons, Nigel, Conor. He's too big for you, mate. He weighs...
Davis, don't start with that big talk. I've told you multiple times.
Right, well,
I'm too good. You've got to tell him I'm too good. Come on.
Let me rephrase it, will you? Anyway, he's too good for him. He's too fast. He's too hard. He's too clever. Eubanks is brilliant, and he's going to smash Ben. How's that?
Come on. That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Jonathan, I know you don't say much. I know you don't even want to be on the top table, but I've got to ask you, any final words, Mr. Jonathan Banks?
I never said I didn't want to be here, but I've been a part of a lot of fights and as far as British guys fighting each other. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a big fight, and as it's been repeated over and over again, both guys can't wait to get their hands on each other. And me personally, I'm looking forward to it.
Should be a cracking fight. Remember, tickets go on general sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster.com midday. The fight will be live on DAZN worldwide and in the UK. No, Derek, no questions. And we'll be live on Sky Sports box office in the UK as well. Okay, one question, Derek.
You can't ask Eddie a question. You know that.
What a shame. Sorry, Derek. Apparently you can't answer me a question.
He doesn't have permission to talk in my presence.
You're so confident that you're fighting. When you're so confident that you're fighting, do you guys might want to make a bet on it, a 100-gram bet on it?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
100-gram bet?
Thank you for earning me another 100 grand. I appreciate it, Derek.
We'll do it.
You ain't earning nothing out of the show, Ben.
Connor, I think I'm earning more than you, mate.
You definitely ain't, mate. You ain't earning nothing. I know you ain't earning nothing.
I've seen your deal, and I think I'm earning more than you. So just be careful, mate. I'll show you what I'm earning.
Nothing, no.
Right, the fighters are going to do a face-off on the stage. Hopefully the security are ready for this one. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending the press conference. And we will see you here April 26th.
Well, one thing we certainly can guarantee, gents, is that Chris Eubank Jr. is a massive fan of Eddie Hearn.
Do you know what, though? I'm a fan of this. I was a fan of that. I like that, because again, he's just, he's just rattling people out, getting on people's nerves, and then once he's out taking out Nigel, Conor reacted like any son should, any son would.
Didn't go down well, that one.
Well, you stick up for your dad every time. You'd rather get insulted yourself than someone insult your father. That really riles you up. And again, as I said at the start of the show, I think for me, Chris Eubank is just a master of getting into people's nerves. He's a master of selling a fight.
Well, that's 15 times the security on stage here today than there was on Tuesday. Also, a considerably bigger gap between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. What did you make of that, Tony Bellew?
It's just, this is part and parcel of the game, Jay, it really is. And the focus, they both want to get each other's hands on each other now, and that's where we're at.
But so you've been here, like I've been. We've all been in a fight, but you've been here when it's been genuine hatred, yes, you Nathan Cleverly. What's it like there when it's genuine? Not just you want to fight someone, someone you genuinely dislike.
I had to really focus and control my emotions because I wanted to actually have, every time I stepped close, I wanted to hurt him. So I really didn't like him. I still don't like him now. But that's just one of them things. You've got to be in control. Conor's in control of his emotions because he's there. He's within touching distance. He knows he could explode now, and he probably would reach him if he explodes quick enough. So listen, it is what it is. It's done now. We're here. This will be the last time they come until it's fight week.
They've done their job today.
Exactly, they've done the job, Barry. It's a massive thing, and I cannot wait until we get in the middle of that park out there.
As I said, everything ultimately relies on what happens in that ring on April 26th. But who do you give the edge to in press conference performance?
Eubank again, I think. But also, I think Conor has been quite composed more than I thought. I know he's livened up a little bit, but there could be more if he wanted to. If he was really not control of his emotions, he'd be screaming and shouting and spitting it up, and they'd have to pull him back. I think he's been controlled enough. Like he said, he's angry anyway, so you didn't get you got a response that you're going to get if you just say hello. So he was okay, but I think Eubank is the better talker, and he's the guy like his dad was. They say stuff with an air of arrogance and confidence, like they're talking down to you. And it's a planned thing. That is, they don't do it just naturally. You do it on purpose to get on your nerves, feel like they're talking down to you. And as we all know, because we're all from working class environments, when people talk down to you, that's worse than people that grabbing.
Bring out the worst in you. It's targeted. He's thought through everything he says and everything he does. So, listen, you just got to say fair play to him. Just got to say fair play. He knows how to get under someone's skin. He knows the buttons to push. And fair play. That is a strength in itself.
I think he's done a better job of winding up Eddie Hearn.
I remember David doing it to him. So it's not Eddie's first rodeo. David Hay done the exact thing when we got to the first press conference. Me and David Hay, he just exploded the tirade on Eddie, and he just went for him fully. And it was about him and Eddie more than it was me and David at times. And I suppose this one's been a little bit similar. So it's not Eddie's first rodeo. Chris Eubank Jr.'s thought was of an angle of how he can get everything he wants out of this. and he's getting it. Fair play to him. I'm happy both are being financially secured massively, which is a big thing for boxing. It goes to the fighters. I'm over the moon about that. But I don't know. Do you know the one thing that no one's talking about in this is it's the next move after they're done with each other, because they've both got to come back down to earth with a big bang. Because Conor going back down to 147, it's going to be tough, mate. It's not him going through camp at 160 and walking around 170. It's not going to be easy getting back to 147. That's the first thing foremost. And for Chris Eubank Jr., if he loses this, he's done.
I think he's admitted that all along. In his words, ahead of the original date in October 2022, if he loses to Conor Benn, he'd have to sail off into the sunset. That's the pressure he's put on his own shoulders.
Well, I think they got the rematch, so that it depends how, if he gets blasted. So if someone gets blasted out the water very, very quickly, the rematch is harder to sell. Yeah. So you've got great people who can sell the fight. So
it couldn't be a rematch though, Barry. Could if someone gets smoked in 4 rounds?
I find it harder. You could sell that to the public again, especially if it's Chris Eubank, and then people do use size and all those things. That might not be a factor. They go, that's why they got weight classes for a reason, and blah blah blah. And there's a harder sellable thing. I think if Eubank loses, and if he gets stopped, most definitely, because he's had a longer career and he is a lot older, and he's had some fight, and he's been at world level before and failed at the highest level, unfortunately. But no disgrace, but that's just the facts. Then it's hard to see how he comes back at the decent level again. He can always fight. He's a big name and he can sell a fight. But I mean, with credibility and all the rest of the things that you need and you want as a fighter, it's hard for that. For Conor, I think he can come back. He's young enough and still fresh enough to make a career. He might have to reset and go down a step or two if he wants to do that, and that's another problem. When you're a big name, once you get to it, it's hard to step back down. It's like being a world-class fighter and they offer you an 8-rounder. You go, no chance. Yeah. I want to go back into a world title fight. It's hard to step back down a level.
Both of them are going to struggle coming back from this, because this is the magnitude of this whole event. This is going to be the biggest boxing event this country's ever put on, ever. The waiting list tells you 135,000 people waiting on a list, and front page, back page news. How often? When was the last time boxing was front and back page? Yeah. For the right or the wrong reasons, whichever if you like it, if you don't, I don't care. Like you said, your grandmother was asking you about how can I get to this fight, and everyone's on me. I mean, I've got Jimmy Bullard constantly on me because he's never asked me for anything. So I've got to be at that fight. I've got to be at that fight. I'm trying, lad.
At least ask how he is first, Jimmy.
You know what I mean? But it's nuts, mate. It's now an event. I get it. I spoke to Michael Buffer before. Calls me nephew. I call him uncle. I've known him for a long time, long time. And he said to me, Tony said, we just don't get it in the US. I said, I know, but domestic rivalries are a big thing in our country, Michael. And he said, I said to him, he said, is it really as big as like you guys?
They're bigger than world title fights. That's the. When you get big ones, they are.
Ben Shalom made a statement there, and he said, you passed up a world title opportunity. Well, so did you. So I'm hearing, because he could have fought Eraslan Lara, the Cuban world champion, and he said no. So I don't know, how that's being set up or what's going on there, but they both could have had world title fights. But I'm telling you now, they're getting 10 times more to face each other.
Do you think it cuts through more when you talk about the animosity? That cuts through to the casuals more, perhaps because they're not as interested in belts. They like the pantomime that comes with these big fights.
In sport now, and we got that with build-up programs towards big fights, and especially storytelling is almost more important than the fight itself. Yeah. And then obviously the final product has to be quality. So telling stories and narratives are brilliant. And because they have history with their dads, that started it off. But they created their own little story here. I would just say one thing that I think Eubank's a massive favourite. He has to be because of everything that I spoke about earlier on. But I remember because you're here, when you boxed David Hay the first time. Yeah. I was asked by Boxing Monthly, it's no longer a magazine, and I was asked about I said you have to make David Hay a massive favourite. He's a heavyweight. He's been a cruiserweight champion. He's a heavyweight champion of the world. And Tony's been a cruiserweight champion, but this is different. He's stepping up too much levels, and David's an explosive, powerful puncher. You have to make him a huge favourite. You have to.
I made them. I was the same. I made them a huge favourite because you look at him, he's Mr. Muscle. You look at me, I look like Mr. Soft. But
you proved everyone wrong, Tony. Anyway,
not even that. No, you were a quality fighter. It's not saying you couldn't fight. You wouldn't.
Oh, of course.
But I mean, the things you can factor in, and I think, for Conor, he might have that innate toughness to take a shot, to be brave, to go at someone like Eubank, who's explosive when he wants to be.
I think what we know is he's not a. We have to look at it as it is. Chris Eubank Jr. is not a world-class fighter.
No, you know,
and that's how we have to look at it. And now there's Conor Benn. No, I'm not saying either, but
he's boxed at a higher. He's boxed at a much higher level.
I agree,
and he's beat better opposition.
He has, but he's beat no one of note. Where I would say of note and you're active.
Let's have a look what we can see here, because what a setting, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, we've had big time boxing here. Most recently, Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora.
I'm loving this for Nigel. I'm sorry, I'm loving this for Nigel Benn because for a fight, us doing our job now, it keeps us sane and keeps us happy because there's no buzz like boxing. But for Nigel, look at this. This is the closest you can get without getting punched in the face. And living it through your son. You know, we all do that for our kids.
People don't realise how much of a legend he really is. He was my hero, mate, growing up. He is an icon of British boxing. He basically makes everyone adore British boxing in this country. What him and Chris Eubank Sr. drummed up between them, and then with Michael Watson involved as well. What them guys drummed up in this country was unbelievable. Like this is the what's happening now is a product of them.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
And they have a wonderful relationship as well, don't they, Conor and Nigel, which is great to see. But look at this for a second now. We didn't have the sit-down face-off that was due to happen yesterday, which is a shame for the fans, because that would have been a tremendous watch. We weren't sure if they were going to make a wall of security to try and make that work, but we believe the fighters are going to come face-to-face here. And as I said in the intro, what will become the arena, the battleground for these two, April 26th. And we saw it with Joshua Usyk. The first fight here, the atmosphere is incredible at this stadium.
It's a fantastic stadium for anything, whether it's a concert, football match, and certainly for boxing. And I think it will be electric because, again, polarizing characters, just gel. And I think stylistically as well, the styles. If we see the best of Eubank and we see the best of what we've seen of Conor Benn, stylistically, it's a fantastic fight to watch.
Well, let's see how this one unfolds. I wonder if I think we've missed the boat now with that sit-down face-off. I don't think we'll see that.
And as much as we sort of want it, for curiosity, you don't want to see people fighting outside of the ring. I mean, there has to be some sort of decorum. However angry you are, however upset you are, there has to be, because we sell this sport. It always saves kids outside of the street. Always saves kids from council estates, from what you would be. And then if you're allowed to fight in press conferences every fight to sell a fight, what does that say about our sport? You know what I mean? You have to have control. And to be a world-class fighter, to be a good fighter, control your emotions and everything else, and your temperament and your energy, all that. It's managing a fight is one thing we say. Control is key. So if you can't control your temper and your emotions outside the ring, what are you going to do when the going gets tough? You're going to crumble under pressure. So, I think Conor Benn's been quite controlled, to be fair, because if someone smashed me in the face with an egg, I wouldn't be too happy standing in front of him right now.
Being out there, Tony, and Barry as well, of course, how much is this about the visualisation? Will you already be visualising the ring walk standing there on the pitch, Tony?
Sorry, say that again, Joe.
I thought you were just enjoying the
I'm trying to see the words that are being said.
Yeah. Well, they're lined up to throw a punch.
They're ready to throw, they're ready to let go.
Well, let's listen in and see if we can hear.
But the security guards have got their arms in front of their arms, so you couldn't even get close.
I've got my reflexes. You're holding, you're shot to bits. Should have told him the other day.
Yeah, true, Rob.
Face the camera.
You rolled.
You're shot to bits.
You're done. You're done. You're done. You're fucking right with Wilson. You're done.
Heads on, come on. Head on.
What do you make of the size difference, seeing them standing side by side there?
With the big sheepskin coat on, mate, everyone looks a bit bigger. It's a nice sheepskin coat, by the way. I mean, it's one I'd wear myself, to be fair. But you're going to look bigger. Conor's coming in a sleek black suit, looks the part. Listen, they both look the part for what they want to look at. They've come out here dressed to the nines. For Chris Eubank Jr., that's dressed to the nines for him. Might not be for everyone, but it is for him. And for Conor, he's slick in an all black suit, which you look slim in an all black as well. The reason why I wear it so much.
Listen, we do have to just say, because someone has made their way into the studio who wasn't here in Manchester on Tuesday, but
another British boxing legend.
Well, I was going to say they won the VIP competition.
Can I get rid of him? Can I get rid of him?
Former IBF World Middleweight Champion, Mr. Darren Barker. Now, Darren, your old weight division. Yeah. This one, 160 pounds, of course, April 26th. From the two presses we've seen, what have been your big takeaways?
That this event is huge. That on April the 26th, it is going to be fireworks. And we spoke about this before, and apologies if this has been mentioned again, but can you imagine, just fast forward to April 26th, around 10:30 at night, when the referee brings them both to the centre of the ring, gives them the instructions, and then they walk back to their corners.
Goosebumps.
The energy,
Oh,
the anticipation, the electric atmosphere.
Wow.
Before that first bell, I cannot wait.
I'm ringing you the week before the fight. You're saying that to me every night. before I go to bed, every night I'm going to cut you up next to you.
We know we're in the right sport, guys, because when you were saying that there, Darren, all of us were smiling from ear to ear, which just shows you how excited we all are. We're lucky. We're fortunate to be here in this position covering. Well, I am. I mean, you guys are.
No, you
guys earned your way here.
mate,
You're former world champions.
We're lucky and privileged. But like I said earlier, like they've done their job. They've sold the fight the best they can. But now they got to get themselves ready for the fight. They've done all they can do to sell the fight. Now they got to get themselves ready. No, they still won't let it go, will they?
Who would you have rather fought, Darren, at middleweight? Who would you have rather fought at middleweight?
Oh, so it's a really good question. It really is. I mean,
because you struggled with punches and boxes, didn't you? So
well, exactly. So I'm in a lose scenario. But look, I'm on a sidetrack here, and I'm just going to go to them stylistically. I can't see this not gelling with what is on the line. The pride, the bragging rights at stake. We know 100%, you know, going back to that moment when the referee brings them back to their corners just before that bell. Conor Benn's literally going to be in the starter blocks, ready to run straight over to, as he's doing there, straight over to Chris Eubank Jr.
Mine with him as well, to be fair.
I mean, it's how does Chris Eubank Jr. adapt a game plan? Does he look to mix fire with fire? Does he lock horns with Conor Benn? It's such a great fight, it really is, because it's just going to go off. It's going to go off, and it's going to be survival of the fittest.
What have you made of the back and forth, Darren, between Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom? That's been fun as well.
It has, yeah. Battle of the
mates now. Come on, they're like Eddie and Frank. They're mates, aren't they? They're all mates.
There's still a space on the undercard for him.
Imagine that. Imagine if they all had to really fight.
They had to get a sumo suit on and those massive gloves.
What a day that'd be.
Who wins a 4-rounder now?
Listen, have you seen the size of Eddie? And he can throw a right hand as well.
Got PT as well now.
I think Ben's quite fast on his feet. You've seen it then when Conor went at him. You know, he jumped back 16 foot.
He's about 7 foot. You know what I mean? He shouldn't get anywhere near him. And he's actually got experience as well. Listen, it's
3 amateur fights, by the way. I think he's undefeated. Eddie Hills, though, that was not Eddie Hearn.
Experience, hasn't he?
Let's see the proof of that first.
Yeah, let's ask Barry.
Where's the trophies and the videos?
Yeah.
So as you see it, Baz, once again.
That's gone under the radar, that, Barry, actually. We're going to have to ask Eddie Hearn that when we get a chance to speak to him.
Then again, there's no videos of my fights as a professional, so
not coloured ones anyway.
No, I know.
This is just this event's huge. Like I can't put it into words the magnitude of this whole event. This is going to be, and I've said it before, I'll say, this is going to be the biggest boxing event this country has ever put on. Ever.
I can't believe I was in I know I keep saying it, and I'm going to continue. I was in a stadium when their dads box, and I'm going to be in a stadium again when their sons box. That's just madness.
Not just in it, you fought in it.
Yeah, I
fought in it.
Listen, and the way it's going, James, I'm going to be fighting again on Saturday. You keep carry on interrupting me.
How many kids have you had in between that spell?
Oh, mate, that's more than you. That's one of that. Not as many, more than you, not as many as Darren.
Well, you know, come on, let's get back to the boxing, boys. Yeah, don't worry, I'll slap when I get home. But listen, yeah, the event, it's huge. Just the whole spectacle as a whole, it's massive, and I'm enjoying it. Like, there's moments in that where I cringed a bit when certain words were said about families and stuff, which I don't like. But it's like, that's it now. The gloves are completely off. After that egg gets splashed on your face, the gloves are off, and the thing. These could say anything to each other, and as I said before, imagine these are just on a Sunday or a Saturday out shopping in London. Imagine that, and these bump into each other. That's why I said to Conor, I hope you're away, lad.
He's going to Spain.
He is, he's in Spain. So,
well, I tell you what would happen in that instant. It would go from the back pages to the front pages.
Oh, it's made both already, though, Daz. They've been I don't really read the papers, but they've been on back and front for the last 2 days. So when was the last time we seen boxing on the back and the front pages of national papers? They've done it. And that's what I'm saying about the magnitude of this fight.
Only.
I'm sorry, Barry. I've interrupted you again. I mean, don't see me in the car.
I think I interrupted you this time. Outside of the heavyweight division, only massive domestic fights transcend sport. That they do. I mean, that like we talked about your fight with David Hay, and I mean, very few do it, and so let's enjoy it. I mean, we're here now. Let's enjoy it then. And if the last two press conferences, even that one was fantastic. If that was just the only press conference, forget about the first one. We'd be buzzing about this, wouldn't we? Let alone because the way Conor stuck up for his dad straight away, any son would be the same way.
Yeah.
And how cool Nigel was, because there's a man who's forget about in the ring, outside the ring. There's a man who's been around the block and knows a thing or two. So he's not scared of anything. He's just laughing. But don't worry about me. I'm cool. He ain't scared. I ain't scared of me.
He's got aura, Nigel Benn, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, this is
a frightening aura.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's a lovely bloke though when you speak to him.
Yeah, but that man is born to fight.
Nigel Benn, mate. He's Nigel Benn.
Yeah.
Like,
He is. Nigel Benn.
That's. I don't even need to say the nickname. He's Nigel Benn.
Yeah.
It's 61 where it's happening.
Mate, when he come on the scene, look, I was still young enough. I was still old enough to watch it, but young enough not to be in there before you start. But it was amazing. Like he was just, and you see loads of flaws in him. Bear in mind, he was a good amateur, but I mean, you just see loads of flaws in him. You just thought he's an absolute maniac. He would be screaming every time he knocks someone out. He'd be shouting like he wasn't happy. Rah! After he knocked him out.
Boxing for the King's Regiment. He was an animal, mate, and the style never got like redefined or changed. What he was doing in the amateurs, he was doing in the pro, and he was just going through people like a hot knife through butter. And I mean, with just pure ferociousness. He was like a middleweight Mike Tyson, but without the finesse. That's the best way of explaining it.
Because he used to roll into shots, didn't he?
He'd swing, roll, whack. Like Mike Tyson had pure finesse. Mike Tyson had good jab. His footwork was exceptional. His movement, like Nigel's movement, and it wasn't finesse. It was raw.
Yeah.
And that's
God-given power.
Oh,
Mike Tyson and Nigel Benn.
But don't Nigel Benn, because his knees used to face in.
Yeah.
Like, so
everything was wrong.
Yeah, how do you keep your balance? But it was weak, so he'd be low. And like I said, he's the most instinctive fighter I can remember, because when he was at his best, when he was at his worst, if that makes any sense. When if you hurt him, or if you get outboxed, or if you got tired, that's when he would just go. He wouldn't do what you should do and regroup and try and be safe. He would just go bam. I mean that, and you can't teach that. And I think his son's inherited that.
The legend Nigel Benn, huge night coming up for his son, of course, April 26th here at Tottenham. Let's remind you of what is coming your way. Darren, I'm interested to get your thoughts here on this undercard. What sticks out to you immediately?
I like Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna. I think it's a brilliant fight. I think it's a good match-up stylistically. I think they meet in the centre of the ring, and I think that's going to be fireworks. It's a must-win for both, but it's take your pick. I think, as Ade said, as he started the press conference, his picks, Riley versus Clark, I think that's a great fight. Two really, really good fighters with still, yes, promising careers. Clark coming off a defeat, but I mean, it's a great card. It really is, where so much is on the line for every single fighter.
Absolutely, and the big fights keep coming, don't they, on the zone? And there's a big one on Saturday night in Belfast, the battle of the unbeaten welterweights. Have a look at this.
Two of Ireland's biggest prospects, the undefeated guys, going head to head, putting it all on the line. It's one of the best fights ever in Ireland. It's going to be fireworks.
Tremendous finish.
Donovan, he looks spiteful, he looks aggressive. This is class.
Big shot, left hand from Crocker.
Big thudding shots.
Fans and officials rise to their feet.
This is the fight I've wanted, the fight that the Irish fans demanded.
It has to be one of the biggest fights in Irish boxing history.
There's more on the line than there ever has been before. The pride of Ireland.
Take away the pride. His is the world title opportunity. It doesn't get any bigger.
Oh, big shot.
That one smashes.
He looks huge in there, Crocker.
I can't see Lewis beating me on the night.
He's my way to world title.
I've dreamt about it so many times.
I believe that I knocked out probably all of them.
Let's dance.
This promises to be explosive.
Yes, a big weekend of combat sports action begins tomorrow with BKFC from New Mexico as Richardson faces Usmanov, while super featherweights Eduardo Rocky Hernandez and Rene Tellez Giron headline a Matchroom show in Canada. And of course, as you just saw there, Saturday night we head to the SSE Arena in Belfast for a huge grudge match between Lewis Crocker and Paddy Donovan before a trip to Puerto Rico where Sabril Matias takes on Gabriel Valenzuela. That fight then, the battle of the unbeaten welterweights. Belfast versus Limerick. It's Billy Nelson versus Andy Lee again for the second weekend in a row, of course. What is there to not like about this fight?
Brilliant fight. I think we've seen Crocker now, and we've seen Donovan. We've seen less of Donovan. What we've had to watch, we've seen Crocker for quite a bit now, but I just think Donovan is such a sharp shooter, and I think his power's very underrated, and I just think. When
you hear Andy Lee talk up Donovan and says he knew even back when he was 19 years old he could go on and win a world title, Andy Lee doesn't say things like that unless he truly believes it. I love this fight
or unless he trains them.
Unless he's I just don't think he would waste his time with someone he didn't believe would go all the way. He's an experienced coach. He's a boxing man inside and out, and the contrast of styles here is fantastic. It really is. You know, you've got the promise and the talent of Donovan, who can box so well. I mean, on the front foot, but most importantly on the back foot. I think a sharp shooter, very good counter-puncher, and you've got the wrecking ball that is Lewis Crocker, who's in your face, busy, and he walks you down. I mean, it's a pick and fight. It's what you like, but one thing's for sure, and we've said this, and we did yesterday at the press conference, the roof is going to come off that SSE arena. It's going to be similar to this, fireworks, because you mentioned it there, Limerick versus Belfast, that comes with something else. There's something else there.
Who are you picking?
Who
are you picking?
Tony. Anyway,
that's all we've got time for. Would you believe it? Before we do it, Barry Jones.
Get them off defence.
How do you see it, Barry? We're going to come back to the predictions. How do you see it, Barry?
Besides what that cherry picking Andy Lee thinks, no, I'm joking. No, what these guys say, I think it's going to be Donovan's hardest fight by a million miles.
Yeah.
If Donovan can keep him off, then Crocker's got no chance, and I think he can. I think cause it might not be. I think he hits hard enough to hurt Crocker, but I don't think he had to stop him. Crocker has got the weight and the strength to maybe do a job on Donovan. I think Roos Ritson made him work hard, but I do think the movement around the target for Donovan, he can draw him on and spin him off. I think that might be enough to get him over the line, and I think he wins quite wide in a hard fight.
Mental check as well, though. I think it's going to be. It's in Belfast.
Yeah.
Lewis Crocker's very popular. Is that also something to contend with?
Yeah, I think it can take a percentage away from you, or it can give you another gear. And yeah, look, I think Donovan has another string to his bow. I think there's a little bit more about him, but look, I'd be far from shocked if Crocker was to get the job done.
So that was a bit of both, really.
So you've just basically sat on a very prickly fence, so you shouldn't be able to sit down again now, mate. You know, you've just got about 15 splinters in your backside.
Yeah, but he wants to be everyone's friend.
Yeah, friend, boxing friend.
No, but I would say something though, and if you can get there, Belfast is arguably the greatest boxing city in the world. A good atmosphere, a packed out arena in Belfast, and I've experienced enough of those now, is one of the best nights you'll ever be in boxing. Not as good as White Hart Lane, of course, in April the 26th, but
it's not as good as Goodison Park either, to be honest. I didn't want to say it but you know.
Not as good as Barnet Leisure Centre either.
Yeah, they haven't got one, but if they did have one, it would be unbelievable.
The Star Leisure in Cardiff, where I used to box, they closed it down. They knocked it down because they couldn't better what I did.
What I'd say is the second best atmosphere I've been at in a boxing fight after Josh Dingyo won in Leeds.
Oh, one of the versus Selby.
Yeah, that was the best atmosphere I've ever been. But the second one was I was at Carl Frampton against Kiko Martinez.
Do you remember most about that night?
The ground shook.
Do you remember that night? I did that. I did the broadcast for that, and you were doing the radio. I remember you sat behind me. It was freezing cold. He had a T-shirt on. I mean, it was ice cold. Right on the. It was the Titanic Quarter. Everyone's got coats on. This lunatic with the T-shirt.
Built differently where I'm from, mate. You should know that.
You can afford the T. You know, he got loads of money, but at the time, you couldn't even afford the coat.
Skint. I'm skint.
Couldn't even afford the coat.
Wife's done all right, but I'm skint.
Join us tomorrow for the weigh-in in Belfast. Myself and Darren Barker will be taking you through all the action from 6 p.m. Cannot wait for all the action on Saturday, and we can't wait for all the action, can we, on April 26th. Bit frustrating. We're going to have to wait for a few weeks now, guys, after that, isn't it?
We'll let it marinate now.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be special.
For a few weeks, mate. We're back at work on Saturday.
I'm talking about this fight. Eubank Benn.
Don't worry about that. This is just gonna marinate in the background slowly but surely. This is a slow burner. Fight just before we go. Imagine fight week for this. Fight week of this, because if you think this is nuts now, wait till this just starts getting build up, because it's only going to get more intense.
Well, to end on the most company man message of all time, you're spoilt for choice, because you can watch it all on the global home of boxing right here on DAZN. We'll see you April 26th.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th. A legendary rivalry is reborn. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. born rivals. Battle is in their blood. Fighting for the name, the honour, the legacy. It's finally time to settle the score.